question?
Dad!
Ma'am.
Dad! Dad!
You searched that's my car! That's my car! You didn't have my permission!
With dash cams and body cams becoming mandatory, we are getting flooded by footage of people behaving like complete maniacs. Whether they're screaming, shouting, assaulting officers, or breaking property, their actions are so exaggerated and over the top that we can't help being glued to our screens as these events unfold before our very eyes. Today we look at 4 police interventions where they were confronted by rich people who, for some reason, do not believe the law applies to them. Brace yourself, because we're in for a wild ride. We start off with a bang, as an entitled rich girl driving a Tesla is pulled over for speeding. The officer exits his vehicle and notifies dispatch that he pulled over a Tesla on Bahama Drive. But the moment he steps out, the driver speeds away, and a chase ensues, although not for long.
Turn off the vehicle! Hands out of the window! Why are you running from me? Why are you running? Don't get out of stay in the fucking vehicle right now.
The driver is obviously not complying, and she seems to be utterly oblivious to the situation she's in. The officer tells her to stay put and even shouts at her to stay in the vehicle, but the girl still steps out and confronts him. By the sound of his voice, we can hear that the officer's pretty young and he's alone, so it's understandable that he's hesitant to approach the driver because who knows what might happen. However, now that he sees it's a girl and that she's probably alone, he decides to approach her, although cautiously and with his gun drawn. They go back and forth for a while, with the girl refusing to step away from the car. The officer reports to dispatch that she's refusing to obey his orders, and at that moment, the girl sees an opportunity to flee, and she takes it.
511, she's refusing to comply. Get out of the vehicle!
You got me fucked up, bro. I own this.
Actively resisting.
The young officer is getting visibly agitated, and for good reason. This woman is not complying with his lawful demands. He's visibly intoxicated and obviously presents a danger on the road. Once again, he gets into a hot pursuit, and once again, it doesn't last long. After they take a left on North Bahama Drive, the woman stops again. This time, the officers aren't playing around. This time, the girl's even talking on the phone, acting like nothing happened.
Stop me over. Oh my god, Dad! They're arresting
Stop
me!
resisting!
What the hell, dude? What are you doing?
Don't resist.
You would think that the woman now realizes it's over and start complying, but this is no ordinary woman, and this arrest is far from over. Once she realizes what's happening, she tries to wiggle her way out and even wrestles the cop for a moment, all the while calling out for her daddy. At one point, the officer has to wrestle her to the ground so he can manage to put her in handcuffs.
Get on your
Dad! They have me on the floor! Dad! Dad! I don't know what I did! What am I doing? Why are you doing this?
One detained.
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?
By this time, the backup has arrived, and it's a female officer who tries to calmly speak to the frantic driver in an obvious attempt to calm her down. However, she's quickly rewarded with a kick from the suspect, and even though the suspect is wailing and moaning in just a few seconds, the reality of the matter is that she's facing charges of fleeing, resisting arrest, and even assaulting a police officer. The obnoxious girl claims that she's 24 years of age, that her father owns the island, and urges the officers to call him. The sense of entitlement of these Karens is just astounding. I guess that's the reason why we love to watch them. It just boggles the mind that anyone can be so out of touch with reality. Let me just clarify just how bad the situation really is. The state of Florida has deemed it a third-degree felony to flee or elude a police officer. This means that Karen is looking at up to 5 years in a Florida state prison for that crime alone, as well as license suspension, vehicle forfeiture, and an adjudication of guilt. Any unlawful touching of a law enforcement officer is also considered a third-degree felony and carries a potential sentence of up to 5 years in prison. And I'm sure we'll all agree that kicking a policeman is considered an unlawful touch. However, if the officers disregard the kick and label it as resisting without violence, that's only a first-degree misdemeanor. with penalties of up to 1 year in jail or 12 months probation and a $1,000 fine. So any way you look at it, she's not gonna like what's coming to her. This Karen keeps behaving like a spoiled brat, sobbing and repeatedly asking them to call her dad. The scene is embarrassing to say the least.
Please call my dad.
No, listen.
No, I need my dad here before you do anything to me.
No, that's not how this works. You're 24 years old. Turn around.
I don't care.
That was an adrenaline rush.
I didn't do anything wrong, and I need my dad here.
So can we even do a DUI
You don't
investigation?
need your dad. You're an adult.
I didn't do anything wrong, so
Then
why
she
are they
refuses.
doing this?
The officers decide that since she's resisting, they can't release her from the handcuffs to do a field sobriety test. So they attempt to put her in the patrol vehicle. But if you thought that was it, you've got another thing coming. Despite all her sobbing, this woman has some fight in her, and she starts kicking and screaming yet again.
I don't know.
Get in! Get in!
Dad!
We got resisting with violence.
You want 11 code 5 PM?
You have a hobble?
You didn't tell me why you're bringing me in the car.
Because you were going to jail.
Why?
Jesus Christ.
Jesus effing Christ indeed. And as expected, the aggression turns to uncontrollable sobbing once again. The only thing I don't understand is why they decided to let her talk to her dad, who appeared at the scene during all this commotion. But to my surprise, her father was the sheer opposite of what I expected. In a soft voice, he told her to calm down, explaining that she had been drinking and speeding, and that she now got herself into deep trouble. Best of all, he told her there was nothing he could do but watch her go to jail. As per our last information, Stephanie's breathalyzer tests showed .268 and .251, which is way above the limit, and she was charged with reckless driving, DUI, fleeing and eluding, and resisting an officer with violence. Now let's be fair, it's not always daddy's little girls that get drunk and act like Karens. In our next video, police officers investigate a possible traffic accident and encounter an Orlando real estate mogul who was apparently driving his Rolls-Royce while under the influence. And as it turns out, he also has a gun in his vehicle.
Hey, don't open that. Don't open that. I already told you. You already told me there's a gun in there, so don't open that.
Dude, call a supervisor.
Okay?
Let's start from the beginning. The incident took place on June 14, 2020 at around 8 p.m. when Orlando PD officer Keith Hernandez responded to a call about a possible vehicle accident at the intersection of South Lucerne Circle in Orlando, Florida. At the scene, they found Mr. Michael Colazzo, who explained that he had been driving down Orange Avenue when a white male driving a two-door Rolls-Royce with the top down merged into his lane and struck his truck. The driver of the Rolls-Royce then started flicking people off, displaying road rage as he yelled from his car. Mr. Colazzo suspected that the man was intoxicated. The driver of the Rolls-Royce was later identified as Keith Ingersoll. As soon as Officer Hernandez approached him, he noticed Mr. Ingersoll's slurred speech and that he was staggering as he walked back to his car.
Okay, so what happened?
The guy bumped right into me.
Huh?
He bumped into me.
He bumped into you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, come over here for me, alright?
Sure.
The officer then asks for Mr. Ingersoll's driver's license and registration. At first, the driver complies. Then he struggles to find the documents. At one point, he remarks something about the officer not having probable cause, which makes no sense at all. Once he looks at the documents, Officer Hernandez tries to get Mr. Ingersoll's side of the story one more time.
So, what happened?
He bumped right into me.
He bumped into you?
Yeah, he drove right into me.
Okay. Do you know which lane you were in?
I was in the middle lane. He swerved into me. I was like, what? He had his window down. He was parked.
Uh-huh.
Sounded like he was parking outside. Drove right into me.
Okay. How fast were you going?
Speed limit.
Speed limit?
40 minutes.
Okay.
So both drivers are pointing the finger at each other, but one of them is clearly intoxicated, and he subtly tries to wiggle his way out of the situation, or at least get some leniency. First, he mentions that he was a cop for 4 years. Then he alludes to the fact that he knows the Orlando chief of police.
I don't have to bring you downtown.
Huh?
I'll be honest with you, I don't have to bring you downtown.
Okay.
If you call your chief, he'll tell you who it is.
Listen, I'm just worried about you. I just want your car insurance.
Let's be honest with you.
To be fair, compared to the rich girl who was sobbing and screaming her lungs out, this guy's pretty relaxed, or at least he was up until this point. Then he gets a little agitated at Officer Hernandez and asks for a supervisor. But the biggest shock comes when another officer appears and attempts to do a sobriety test.
So the crash is complete. I'm here because I'm going to do a changing of the hats because we're going to conduct a DUI investigation, okay?
Why?
Because we may believe that you're under the influence of alcohol.
Not at all.
Okay.
At that point, the officer reads him his rights and he complies completely. He seems cooperative, but suddenly his tone changes. While he's still calm and composed, he says that he feels intimidated, that he's going to film this with his own phone, and at one point even threatens the officer.
Tomorrow you're going to wish you didn't do this.
Okay.
In fairness.
Okay.
It's debatable if that could be perceived as a real threat. Mr. Ingersoll is not acting hostile towards the officers, although he probably senses that they're siding with the other driver. As he's chatting to the female officer, he admits to having one beer, a lazy eye, and that he owns half the buildings in the area. Still, he has to do a field sobriety test, which he not surprisingly fails. He's then arrested and taken to the DUI center, but before that, he has something to say.
And when I get out of here, you're going to lose your fucking mind when I get done.
Okay. Is there a
You arrest
specific...
the wrong person, I'm going to go to the DUI center. What's going to happen?
What?
Is that you federally have arrested a person that's not under influence, and now you're in trouble for unlawfully arresting someone.
Okay.
Watch this. My truth. I'm gonna have you arrested. My promise.
Despite his ramblings and vague threats, Mr. Ingersoll was arrested for driving under the influence with property damage. He later refused to do a breathalyzer test. However, this charge is the least of his concerns, as a year later he was arrested for wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, attempted wire fraud, and aggravated identity theft. Apparently, he defrauded investors for over $12 million. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison and was ordered to forfeit almost $10 million, money that was traceable to the offense. Mr. Ingersoll's demeanor was quite timid, so let's shake things up with another Karen. The following arrest took place in April 2022 at a Quick Trip convenience store in Weston, Wisconsin. Officers were called in for an intoxicated female who apparently passed out in her car. At this time, the reason why the officers were called was that passerbys were worried about her safety.
Hi, what's your name?
Alright, I'll leave you alone. Alright, man.
What's your name?
I'm Anna.
Anna? Okay.
Yeah, we're willing to, she was sparked, but she was asleep. We are willing to take her to our house.
Okay. Do you know her? How do you guys know?
Yeah. We'll take her to my apartment if we just put her in my car.
What?
And then we'll be there.
What's going on?
Nothing.
It doesn't take a genius to understand that this girl is barely standing on her 2 feet. The officer also noted her dilated pupils, extremely slurred speech, as well as the odor of unspecified intoxicants coming from her person. So, even though the 2 Good Samaritans offered to take care of the girl, saying that she's obviously young and stupid, the officer follows Anna as she enters the back of the car and gets into the front seat.
I'm an ID. Just can't.
Well, I'd want to...
Just give me a second.
Okay. No, I want to talk to you. Okay?
I know I will. Just give me a second.
Well, why do you need the door closed?
Why indeed? My guess is she either wants to get something or get rid of it, and this officer just isn't buying it. He flashes his light to help her find her ID, but also to inspect the inside of the vehicle. Then, a hilarious interaction ensues that shows just how drunk this 18-year-old really is.
What have you been taking anything tonight? Have you been drinking alcohol? No?
I need my eyes closed.
Why do you need your eyes closed?
Because I can't hear them anything else.
You can't what?
Hear them anything else.
You can't hear them?
Yeah.
You can't hear your eyes.
I can't hear my ID.
You don't need to hear your ID.
The hilarity continues as Anna claims that she can't hear her ID, but wants to know that it's there, and other nonsense. But it's clear that she's just overly intoxicated and in need of rest. However, the officer's duty is to investigate the matter to find out who she is and how old she is. So he presses on for the ID. At one point, she gets agitated and calls him an idiot, prompting the Good Samaritan couple to intervene and try to calm her down.
Well, we can't do that. We can give you a ride, or they can give you a ride.
Calling them swear words and everything else isn't gonna help, okay?
It's too late. It's already.
No, it's not too late. Thank God somebody saw you.
But no amount of talking can do the trick, and the situation is about to get worse. The young woman starts calling for her sister Emma, who apparently left her there. When the officer tells her to stop yelling, she repeatedly tries to close the car door on him and even strikes him in the genitals. At that point, other officers get involved and yank her out of the car screaming.
Stop!
Stand up. Get her up. Put it on the ground.
Go look for her! Go look for her!
Okay, we got it.
As the officer lays her down on the ground, waiting for the squad car to arrive, she makes things even worse by attempting to kick the officers, and the struggle continues even as they carry her to their vehicle. For such a small girl, she obviously has a lot of strength because two cops struggled to get her into the vehicle. When they closed the door, she started banging her head against the divider and kicking the doors. In the end, they're forced to restrain her. After that, the officers debate what their next step is.
We'll have to try to get a PBT from her. If not, we're just gonna have to take her to the hospital, get medically cleared first.
She punched you in the right?
Yeah.
Battery to law enforcement?
It caused you pain? Yeah, it hurts.
The battery charge itself is considered a Class H felony in Wisconsin, with a potential sentence of up to 6 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. The officers then stated that the dispatcher said the girl was 18 years of age, which meant that she could go to jail. They soon received an image confirming her identity. As it turns out, this is not her first brush with the law while being intoxicated. After several attempts to do a breathalyzer test, she's taken to jail. But even there, she continues with her tantrums and assaults yet another police officer. Subsequently, the test showed a score of 2.0, which is more than double the allowed amount. She was charged with battery to a police officer and resisting. She was also issued a citation for underage consumption of alcohol.
Where's the f***ing security footage? Are you f***ing shitting me right now? You searched that's my f***ing car. That's my car. You didn't have my f***ing permission.
This heated interaction took place near a bar in Ohio on February 5th, 2023. Officers responded when a few concerned citizens reported a possibly drunk individual who fell asleep at the wheel of his car with his foot on the gas. After repeatedly knocking on the window, the officers finally managed to wake him up.
Take your foot off the gas. Just go ahead and step out of the vehicle for me, all right? How much have you had to drink tonight?
53 to 30, advised reference time.
You need a mech to respond?
I'm tired, dude.
You're passed out with your foot on the pedal. And the gas, the accelerator. You realize what could have happened here, right?
After a short chit-chat in which the driver admitted to drinking and smoking marijuana earlier that night, he refuses to take a field sobriety test. Ohio law states that anyone has the right to refuse the test. However, this may incur stricter penalties later on, and the officers have the right to arrest him, which in fact they do. After he's placed in handcuffs, the officers take him to their patrol vehicle, and that's when the real fun starts because his girlfriend, who actually owns the car, storms out of the store shouting at the police officer searching her car.
Well, here, Alex.
What the f*** are you doing?
You need to calm down.
No, you need to get the f*** out of my car. For what?
The furious woman then goes inside to complain, and even though people are trying to explain that her boyfriend was asleep with his foot on the gas, she cannot comprehend what's going on, why her boyfriend is being arrested, or why the cops are searching her car.
For what?
Drunk driving!
Are you f***ing me right now?
No! He's in the cruiser! He had his foot on the gas, completely passed
What
out.
are you talking about? Why are you in my f***ing car?
Because he was in the car, he's operating the car, and he's now under arrest for...
How? How? Where's the security footage? Run it!
At that point, the officers try to explain the situation, but the woman doesn't believe them. She starts insisting on them showing her the security footage of this happening. Then the conversation switches to the issue of the marijuana the officers found in the vehicle.
Are you want to take your marijuana?
My marijuana?
Yeah. Because there's
you arrested him!
Yeah, there's marijuana in the car.
That's my car!
Doesn't matter, there's marijuana in the car.
So you want to arrest me for a $150 charge? Go ahead. Slap me with the ticket because it's decriminalized in the state of Ohio. It's decriminalized in the state of Ohio. It is decriminalized in the state of Ohio. Is it or is it not?
Is this really true? Well, it depends on several elements. In Ohio, only medical marijuana is legal, while recreational marijuana is still illegal. Ohioans 18 years or older are allowed to buy medical marijuana in legalized dispensaries only. It's illegal to smoke marijuana in public or to carry over 200 grams of the substance. But even before we get to the marijuana in the vehicle, we have to deal with this woman who's completely out of order. The officers repeatedly ask her to calm down, but eventually have to place her under arrest for obstruction of police business.
Put your hand behind your back.
For what?
Obstruction of official business.
Go ahead, because I have money, baby. We're going to sue the state of Claremont County.
But tonight you won't be arrest. You go to jail.
I literally did nothing. You have no...
Put your hand behind your back.
Put your hand behind
your back, ma'am.
In the end, the woman was identified as Kara Fuller. She was charged with obstructing official business, resisting arrest, and disorderly conduct. A Florida Highway Patrol trooper in Flagler County recently had a run-in with an obviously entitled person speeding down I-95 in a red Ferrari. As it turns out, this male Karen was in fact Joe Mullins, chairman of the Flagler County Commission. The incident happened on June 19th when the trooper observed a red 2013 Ferrari 458 Spider convertible speeding northbound on I-95, somewhere around mile marker 287. The sports car was doing 92 in a 70-mile-per-hour zone, which means it was going 22 miles per hour above the limit. The trooper initiated a traffic stop and...
Hey there, Trooper Harper Island. Where's that subject? Gets you at 92 miles an hour. Man, that was almost bad, dude. I know, I didn't realize how quick this man stopped.
The driver engages in conversation with the trooper, trying to find a good excuse for why he was going so fast. Apparently, another issue was stopping as fast as he did. The driver apologized, as he didn't realize that the supercar stopped almost as fast as it ran. The trooper then asked for the driver's license and registration.
Insurance registration if you got it handy. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I didn't realize
it stopped pretty quick. I wasn't expecting that.
Although it might look insignificant, this part is really important because the driver could have been accused of reckless driving or even endangering others by stopping too fast. But so far, everything looks good. Nobody's throwing tantrums, screaming, kicking, or anything like that. The two men engage in friendly banter, and the officer even complains that he's been busy as everyone's in a hurry this morning. The trooper then goes back to his vehicle to do the paperwork. Once he gets back...
So 92 miles an hour is 22 over the speed limit, okay? Normally I give warnings, I give breaks, but it looks like you've been written a warning already, so I do issue the citation. With that being said, it's going to be payable within 30 days. 3 ways to take care of it. I'm sorry? I run the county, so I know how to... You run the county? Yeah, I'm the chairman of the county.
Wow, was that an attempt to get out of the situation or just a sick brag? Nonetheless, the trooper is not fazed by this flex by the chairman, and he continues his explanation so there's no miscommunication. Basically, he did his job the correct way, so kudos to this trooper. As for the chairman, by the way he speeds off, we can conclude that he learned nothing from this situation. Not only that, but our research shows that Mr. Joe Mullins had already been stopped for speeding 2 weeks prior to this event, although at that time he was not driving a Ferrari. According to our information, Mullins was pulled over on June 2nd for allegedly driving a 2018 Mercedes-Benz SUV at 89 miles per hour in a section of Interstate 4 with a 60 mile per hour speed limit. According to the Florida Highway Patrol report on June 2nd, Mullins was described as being extremely condescending, belligerent, illogical, and disrespectful. Also, he tried to use his business card as a proverbial get-out-of-jail-free ticket. It's good to see the boys in blue doing their jobs correctly. As for Mullins, controversies like these followed him during his term as the chairman of the county commission. Not long after these 2 traffic stops, he lost his seat in an election versus Leanne Pennington. Pennington got 69% of the votes, as opposed to Mullins' 31%. So maybe in the end, he got what was coming to him. Thank you for sticking around till the end. If you like this type of content and want to see more, the easiest thing to do is leave a like, share, and subscribe.